Warning, some viewers may be too lame to enjoy the following information.
Hulk is one of the most powerful superheroes in the Marvel Universe. Just look at him go. Who would mess with this dude? Sorry, Loki. So it is only fitting that an attraction themed to the Hulk is just as intense as he is. Introducing the Incredible Hulk at Islands of Adventure. This green roller coaster is based on the big green superhero himself and features a launch lift hill, 7 inversions, speeds up to 67 miles per hour, 3,700 feet of track, and some really good positive G-forces. Without a doubt, the Incredible Hulk is one of the most gorgeous roller coasters ever built. Just look at the way the ride dominates the park skyline. The lake and park pathways were beautifully integrated to interact with the ride. I absolutely love how the ride's largest inversions are located front and center over the lake. I could watch this ride all day. As impressive as the ride's appearance is, the experience provided by the ride is even better. In this video, I will tell you all about the Incredible Hulk and why this roller coaster is an absolute must-ride attraction at the Universal Orlando Resort. The Incredible Hulk first opened on May 28th of 1999, alongside the grand opening of Islands of Adventure, the second major theme park to open at the Universal Orlando Resort. From day one, the ride was an instant hit and has continued to be a major success ever since. The ride was manufactured by Bolliger & Mabillard, or B&M for short. B&M is the same Swiss roller coaster firm that also created Dueling Dragons, a pair of dueling inverted roller coasters that also opened with Islands of Adventure in 1999. And while the Incredible Hulk opened in 1999, its original conception and design date back to the mid-90s, when Universal were still in the planning stages for Islands of Adventure. Many roller coaster enthusiasts are aware that during the 1990s, B&M produced some of their most intense roller coasters to date. The B&Ms of that era are often called old school B&Ms, and feature the fastest pacing, highest positive G-forces, and very quick and snappy inversions. Overall, they are much more intense than the newer coasters built by B&M. The ride was constructed in 1997, at the same time the entire park was being built. This means the ride's design could have been finalized as early as 1996, around the same time that B&M also built Dragon Con at Port Aventura. Dragon Con is considered by many roller coaster enthusiasts to be one of the best and most intense B&Ms ever built. Thus, I absolutely consider the Incredible Hulk a quote-unquote old-school B&M. The ride was actually completely rebuilt in 2016 with brand new supports and track, but the ride still feels exactly like the original version built in 1999. This makes the ride one of the only steel roller coasters to ever be entirely rebuilt. But why did they rebuild the ride? After 16 years of daily year-round operations, the Incredible Hulk quickly became B&M's most cycled coaster. That means that more trains had traversed the track than on any other B&M coaster. When running all 3 trains, which is a majority of the time, the ride typically sends over 50 trains an hour and can theoretically send up to 60 in an hour, which is very high. And to make it even worse, the trains used on the Incredible Hulk are very heavy. With 365-day operations each year, the number of cycles begins to add up, which caused the ride to reach the end of its service life. Thus, the ride structure either needed to be torn down or replaced. With the ride being so popular, Universal chose to replace the ride with a carbon copy. Version 1 of the Hulk closed on September 8th of 2015 to make way for version 2. Nearly all of the ride was completely dismantled, and the original trains were even scrapped. The park went through the process of installing brand new track, supports, and ride vehicles. B&M re-engineered much of the track and supports to provide more strength in higher stress areas. Many of the smaller circular supports were replaced with simple I-beam supports, which are much stronger. Take a look at the spine of the track and notice how the spine's width is not consistent. The spine is thicker on areas that face higher stresses, which would hopefully allow version 2 to last longer than version 1. The Hulk reopened on August 4th of 2016, following its reconstruction. Unfortunately, Dragon Challenge, the park's dueling B&M inverted roller coaster, formerly named Dueling Dragons, did not receive the same treatment as Hulk. Those coasters reportedly reached the end of their service life as well, after 18 years of year-round operations. Rather than rebuild those coasters, the park chose to permanently remove them during the 2017 season. Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure has since opened as the official replacement for the Dragons. Check out my review video of that coaster to see what I think of the ride. Link in description. As sad as I am to see the Dragons go, I am actually very happy that Universal chose to keep Hulk over the Dragons. While the Dragons were my favorite ride at Universal during the 2000s, the rides were unfortunately turned into a shadow of their former selves when Universal removed the dueling aspect in 2011. Hulk is ultimately a much better roller coaster than either of the dragons were anyway. Version 1 of the ride featured a very loud, distinctive roar, different from basically all other B&M roller coasters, besides maybe Riddler's Revenge at Six Flags Magic Mountain. This helped the ride sound exactly like the Incredible Hulk himself. Version 2 of the ride unfortunately features a much quieter roar, which was probably done on purpose. The ride's entrance features a Hulk statue angrily holding up a ride vehicle underneath some torn up track. This track is actually from version 1 of the ride. Reduce, reuse, recycle. It's quite the cool looking entrance, especially with the ride's corkscrew sitting right behind it. Please be aware that cell phones, car keys, or any hard metallic loose objects are not allowed on the ride. This is for the safety of guests on the ride, as well as guests in the ride area, as these objects become dangerous projectiles when they fall out of riders' pockets. All riders are required to place all of these articles in free lockers or leave them with a non-rider. Hey, Six Flags and Cedar Fair, did you hear that free part about the lockers? Let me repeat that. Yes, the lockers are free. So no, you can't have your cell phone in line. This helps to take riders back to 1999 when something like an iPhone can only be conceived while hallucinating. On version 2 of the Incredible Hulk, the attraction is themed to a scientific experiment run by General Thaddeus Ross, who is the Hulk's archenemy. By entering the queue line, you have volunteered to participate in General Ross's experiment, no waiver required. General Ross is looking to transform you, the guest, into a Hulk-like creature with the use of gamma radiation, just like when Bruce Banner was originally transformed into the Hulk. This differs from the original version of the attraction, where you entered Bruce Banner's lab as Banner looked to reverse the effects of the Hulk and end his mutation for good, but his attempt backfires as riders launch out of the tunnel and transform anyway. The park did a great job updating the original queue line from 1999. While the original queue was great for its time, it quickly began to feel outdated. The park revamped the queue line in 2016 with the opening of Incredible Hulk version 2, and the line now looks much more modern. The ride also features an incredible capacity, meaning the line should move super fast. Riders arrive at the launch platform and board into one of the 3 32-passenger trains. The Incredible Hulk features B&M's traditional sit-down trains. Riders pull down their over-the-shoulder restraints and buckle their seatbelts. The ride crew that works the Hulk is extremely efficient and are able to dispatch an incredible amount of trains every hour. This results in the ride having an incredible capacity, which means that a long line for the ride will always be moving. Riders are dispatched out of the launch platform into the Gamma Ray launch tunnel. This is the kickstart of General Ross's experiment on you. The train begins to ascend up the lift hill when a warning message plays. Initiating gamma exposure. Hulk transformation accelerating. Do not be afraid. The Gamma Ray accelerator kicks in and launches the train to 40 miles per hour in 2 seconds, creating 1 G of acceleration. Riders have now been transformed into Hulk-like creatures and begin their angry parade around Islands of Adventure. The train exits the launch tunnel and whips through a 110-foot tall zero-G roll. This element is very snappy and also provides a brief moment of airtime. It's a nice change of pace from the rolls found on roller coasters built by RMC. While the zero-G rolls on RMC coasters feature more airtime, these older zero-G rolls on B&M coasters are much more intense, and I love how fast they whip. The train finishes the roll and dives into a 105-foot right-hand drop towards the lake. The ride bottoms out of the drop, delivering a healthy amount of positive G-forces at 67 miles per hour as water canyons shoot water along the edges of the train. The train rockets up into a massive Cobra roll, which delivers a large amount of sustained positive G-forces. The ride completes the first half loop, then whips through a half corkscrew, then into another half corkscrew, and then dives back toward the ground through another half loop. This is one of my favorite Cobra rolls, as it is extremely fast-paced, forceful, and snappy, making it nice and intense. I compare the Cobra roll to the one on Alpengeist at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, although the Cobra roll on Alpengeist is a little more intense. The train dives back towards the ground, delivering another punch of high positive forces. This sends the vehicle through a massive, fast-paced vertical loop, and rather than finishing the loop at ground level, the train dives into another tunnel under the lake. Riders roar through a cloud of mist and begin to ascend up a helix. The helix wraps riders around the launch tunnel, and then whips back around into a tight left turn suspended up in the air, providing great G-forces. The ride rockets out of the helix and hits a fast-paced corkscrew high up in the air. The train absolutely whips through this corkscrew with absolutely zero headbanging, providing more great forces. What I love about this ride is just how unique the layout is. especially compared to other looping roller coasters built by B&M, which typically feature the same 7 inversions done back to back without many differences. Other B&M coasters feel very cookie cutter, whereas Hulk changes things up. Anyways, the ride flies through the corkscrew and begins a long, shallow descent back towards the ground. The train begins to rapidly pick up speed and then dives into a small trench, providing a punch of positive forces. This sends the ride rocketing through a second vertical loop, providing another punch of intensity. This loop actually wraps around the mid-course brake run of the ride. The train bottoms out of the loop and enters an upward helix with some great positive forces. The train climbs upwards and then quickly whips towards the right and back down to the ground, which delivers a nice pop of airtime, especially in the back rows. This turnaround is oddly similar to some of the turnarounds featured on wooden roller coasters built by Great Coasters International, and it's very refreshing to see this idea placed on a B&M roller coaster. The ride then enters a forceful 270-degree helix, which climbs upward into the mid-course brake run. Now this is where the ride dies off a little in my opinion. Riders enter the mid-course brake run, which trims off a large amount of speed. The amount of speed trimmed off here will vary depending on how fast the ride is running. The last time I rode, the ride was absolutely hauling through the ride before the mid-course, so the mid-course thus removed a large amount of speed. The ride features a straight drop off the mid-course brake run, which definitely has the potential to provide a great pop of airtime, but unfortunately doesn't due to the trimming on the mid-course. I always wish the ride would come off the mid-course a little faster like Nitro at Six Flags Great Adventure, which delivers an excellent pop of airtime for riders sitting in the back rows. The train bottoms out and wraps through a second corkscrew. Now because the train hits this corkscrew slower than the first one, there's a bit of hang time, which is a nice touch. The ride climbs up a right-hand turn and then travels underneath a second corkscrew through a gradual drop back to the ground. Riders say cheese, or dab at the on-ride photo, and then ascend through a left-hand helix into the final brake run, which ends the ride. Overall, these last few hills following the mid-course brake run are significantly less intense than the rest of the ride. Due to the drop in speed, the elements are less whippy, less forceful, and less intense overall. So while the first 3 quarters of the Incredible Hulk are an absolute powerhouse, the last quarter of the ride is kinda meh. It feels like a very tame, new school B&M coaster. But either way, that doesn't ruin the ride at all, and the Hulk is truly a great roller coaster. I can't emphasize how unique the coaster is, which makes this ride a truly standout attraction for me. The launch lift hill into the super fast 0G roll never gets old. The ride is fast-paced, forceful, snappy, and intense. It is one of those rides that grows on me the more and more I ride it. Basically every part of the ride slaps. Well, besides the ending, but a bad ending doesn't necessarily mean a bad ride if the rest was really great. And the ending could be worse. It could be the ending found on Gatekeeper at Cedar Point. Ugh. I've actually seen a few videos of Hulk when it first opened, where the train hardly slowed down in the mid-course, which I'm sure made the last few hills just as intense as the rest of the ride. And you may never know, you may get lucky and ride Hulk during a time where the mid-course doesn't kick in much. My brother Logan rides the Hulk all the time, and has ridden it a few times where the mid-course is hardly trimmed. Now I do find that the Hulk suffers in one category when compared to the other rides at Universal, and that is that I find other rides at the resort do a better job at conveying a story, but I don't think the Hulk was intended to tell as much of a story and was meant to focus more so on high thrills. Thus, I can't really say if the Incredible Hulk is my favorite ride at the Universal Orlando Resort, as I really love the other themed attractions, but when looking at just the roller coaster aspect, the Hulk offers the most intense experience at Universal, for sure. As a roller coaster, I give the ride a 9.5 plus out of 10, meaning that the ride is better than a 9.5, but not quite a 10. As much as I love positive G-forces and intensity, airtime is still my favorite component on a coaster, and it takes a really good coaster without much airtime to get a 10 from me. The ride has to essentially be perfect from start to finish. I definitely give the ride a perfect ranking if the last portion of the ride were a bit better. Regarding how smooth the ride is, I wouldn't call Hulk the smoothest B&M, as I find that the train shimmies a little from side to side, but there's absolutely zero headbanging, which is excellent. So I wouldn't be concerned about roughness, as the ride is quite smooth. Hopefully it stays that way with how often the ride cycles, or maybe we'll see Hulk version 3. Now even though the ride is smooth, this isn't an attraction I recommend for everyone. The ride features a high amount of positive G-forces, fast pacing, and lots of inversions back to back. Many people may find the attraction too intense, or some may find it nauseating. If you're looking for the best roller coaster in the park that everyone can ride, go ride Hagrid's Motorbike Adventure instead, but good luck with the line. To wrap things up, the Incredible Hulk is one of the best attractions at the Universal Orlando Resort, and I believe all thrill seekers should try the ride. The ride starts with the super unique launch lift hill, and then roars through an impressive layout featuring 7 high-speed inversions, high positive G-forces, snappy elements, and an overall smooth ride as well. Now this ride isn't the most themed attraction and doesn't feature the best storyline, but the ride makes up for that with the high thrills it delivers. Without a doubt, this is the most intense roller coaster in the city of Orlando, and one of my favorites as well. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.